a fairly normal Teamer shell to start with. You look more carefully at it, and you notice that there's Oath of Nissas. Otherwise, it looks normal. And then you got to get to the Planeswalkers. It's got 1 copy of Nahiri the Harbinger and 2 copies of Nicol Bolas God Pharaoh in his deck.
Still no confirmation of a resolved Nicol Bolas in the tournament.
We almost saw it when he was on camera earlier.
This is really not one of Nicol Bolas's better matchups.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to be the round where we'll get to see it. If Todd's casting 7 mana spells, that's already a win. You see here some mulligans, though, for our first game. Johnathan Jobb has kept on 6. Todd Stevens is going to a 5-card hand right now.
Yeah, it makes some sense that the 3-color deck splashing a 4th and 5th color can have some issues with its opening hands.
Yeah, looking at his mana base, it's not actually that ambitious for Todd to want to play Nicol Bolas in here. He's got enough cards between Oath of Nissa, Servant of the Conduit, Aether Hub.
There's a handful of cards that make it easy, right?
Yeah, Todd's going to go to 4. He had a hand there with Oath of Nissa, but the only land was a mountain. Decided that wasn't... I mean, when you're on a 5-card hand or lower, you're going to take a risk. That was too much of a risk.
Right.
See over on backup, battle of some teammates here. Dylan Donegan and Collins Mullen, both of Team Lotus Box on a backup feature match. So a lot of great Magic to be played this round. Todd keeping on 4. And here we go.
14 main deck green sources for Stevens. And he needs one to play the game, realistically.
Yeah, his hand's actually pretty good. Aether Hub into Attune. He's got an Attune for land. He has a 3rd land in Spirebluff Canal, and I believe a Harnessed Lightning. So, and especially against Johnathan, who kept a 1-lander, plays Soulscar Mage on turn 2, Todd could win on a Mulda 4.
Yeah, some beatdown decks that keep the 1-lander, they really only want to draw 1, maybe 2 more lands. This is a deck where a 1-lander is a bit more ambitious.
You see Todd with the mana and removal to work his way up to that Chandra Torch of Defiance. He might be in business.
Yeah, things actually looking pretty good for Stevens.
Here's a Braid from Todd. Kills the Soulscar Mage. Another one from Jobb. No, Todd could get this. This is so good. Here's Tireless Tracker and a pass. 1 more land from Todd, and Chandra's going to run away with it. But not so fast here. Dune of the Dead. It's a 1-of in Johnathan's deck. It's his only land in the entire list that doesn't make red mana. He will Incendiary Flow away the tracker and swing for 2. But Todd, can you get the land here? Does he do it?
Even if he doesn't hit Chandra just yet, the Harnessed Lightning buys him some time.
They're checking would tracker still be exiled. Soulscar Mage, Incendiary Flow. Discussing the interaction with the judge. Yeah, they're going to put it in the graveyard. Glorybringer, the pickup for Todd Stevens. That doesn't play.
Nope. If Jobb starts peeling some lands, even now just with 2, he opens up quite a bit more of his deck. Yeah. Looks like he missed on an Earthshaker Kenra there.
Says go, plays Carry Zev. Another Harnessed Lightning for Todd. Still hasn't hit the land. And now the race here, you see Todd Harnessed Lightninging away the Carry Zev, is that Jobb, if he can hit to 4 lands, has Thought-Knot Seer. He's now at 3 lands. As you see, he's going to play Eldrazi Obligator. Whoever hits the 4th land first here is going to be in great shape.
Well, think about the way that the battlefield shaped up now. You have Jobb with enough mana. Even if Stevens casts Chandra and kills something, Jobb has a lot of haste threats that can take care of that right away. 4th
land for Jobb. He swings with Obligator. Todd will block, and that means he won't be live here as Jobb's going to go Thought-Knot away the Chandra. Good sequencing by Jobb, too. If he had Thought-Knotted first, Todd wouldn't have blocked.
Yeah. And you're in a spot where both of these cards are live to be cast on the following turn.
Oath of Nissa from Todd Stevens.
2 Long Tusk Cubs.
I guess you're getting Long Tusk Cub. Though Cub is going to go up to a 4/4. It could trade with Thought-Knot Seer.
Assuming it lives.
Chandra Torch of Defiance. It's not going to live. Chandra shoots down the blocker. Thought-Knot swings in. Todd at 11. You know, this game was close, actually. And there's the 4th land from Todd. That's not enough. He does have Glorybringer, so Jonathan's got to be somewhat concerned about that.
That threatens to kill the Thought Knot and the Chandra.
Yep. Chandra pluses. Here's a Reality Smasher and Thought Knot, and that's going to do it.
Yeah, that made that a non-issue.
So game 1 does go to Johnathan Jobb. A game where both decks were hobbled, and it was Johnathan squeaking by there. Todd had to miss that 4th land drop a couple times.
Yep.
But the game goes over to Mono Red Aggro, and we'll take a look at the sideboards. On Johnathan Jobb's side, his Mono Red Aggro deck has had a lot of ways that it can go big out of the sideboard. We saw it win with really Eldrazi that game. It's got Hanvir Garrison, Sweltering Suns, Invigorated Rampage, a Braid, and then some one-ups. Glorybringer, Incendiary Flow, Thought Knot, Seer, Reality Smasher. These are additional copies of all of these cards. Chandra, Hazaret, and Magma Spray. So all those 6 one-ups are all cards in his main deck that he has extra copies in the sideboard, so he can kind of just change his composition.
And really, the Eldrazi, the Thought Knot Seer, the Reality Smasher, they line up really well against both red removal. If your opponent is going to harness lightning them, you force them to have some other energy payoff. And just Planeswalkers. They can take Planeswalkers out of the opponent's hand, or Reality Smasher does a great job of pressuring Planeswalkers too. So it makes sense for the red deck to try to hang a little bit larger. You don't have to be low to the ground in a matchup like this.
It's interesting to see the copies of cards like that in the sideboard. It's not normally where they'd play, just because those cards tend to be good in so many matchups.
And this is a deck that's kind of really playing 2 strategies, right? Yeah, you have your low end, you have your Falcon Wrath Gorger, your Soulscar Mage. You can start out really aggressive, but then you're just kind of a mid-range deck as you move into the mid-game.
Yeah, it's like Mono Red Eldrazi certainly is a deck we've seen in Standard for a while. I like that Jonathan's attempting to get some game 1s with fast starts and then board out of it.
And if you look at the sideboard, most of the stuff on the sideboard is mid-range stuff.
Yeah.
He's trying to shift. He has basically all the aggressive cards he wants in his main deck already. Shifts gears only to be aggressive in a small number of matchups.
Now for Todd Stevens, he has 3 Fevered Visions, 3 Negate, 2 Tireless Tracker, 2 Radiant Flames, 2 Magma Spray, an Appetite for the Natural, an Hour of Devastation, and a Nahiri the Harbinger. Now, it's hard to board against this deck because you don't really know if it's going to be aggro or mid-range. So what does Todd do?
Yeah, so given the number of draws where Radiant Flames just awkwardly trades on mana on the battlefield, I don't think that one's particularly good. I do think you'd want Magma Spray. Stopping the early onslaught is pretty nice. If Jobb's bringing in Hanweir Garrison, that kind of reverses that situation. So that might change on the play and the draw. Hour of Devastation's almost always going to be nice, though. You should want that one.
If you're going up on Magma Sprays, then do the 3rd and 4th Tireless Trackers come in?
If you expect the matchup to be pretty mid-rangey, or you expect to be able to removal spell your opponent out of the early game, that makes Tracker pretty good.
Okay. Todd will be on the play for the 2nd game. Now, new to the SCG Tour in 2017, we had our Infinite Challenge. This is the official Infinite Challenge package. It's an $80 2-day event. So what happens is during our SCG weekends, we have our main event, which is what we're covering here. But all over the hall, we also have our Infinite Challenge events. These are 4-round events that take place that are scheduled events in each different format. So no matter what your schedule or your format of choice, there's going to be an event for you this weekend. And we have our Infinite Challenge package. So for $80, you get entries into all challenge events all weekend long, which if you play them all is great value, especially on the prizes that these give out. On top of that, it's your chance to get one of these Star City exclusive playmats without entering the main event. So you see these 3 which are giving away. Those are normally entry to the main events. You can get these with the expanded Infinite Challenge package, starcitygames.com/schedule. So back to our match. Todd Stevens down a game, starts with a turn 1 Attune. This time both players keeping on 7. Make for a different game. Earthshaker Kenra from Jobb. That would be Magma Sprayed. That's gone. Another Magma Spray drawn for Todd. So he makes Whirler Virtuoso.
And Magma Spray tagging the Eternal Creature. That's a pretty big win for Todd.
Yeah. Yeah, Kenra exiled to no Eternalizing. With this kind of start from Stevens, it puts a lot of pressure on the mid-range elements of Jobb's deck. I'm looking for Eldrazi much more than I'm looking for 2-drops at this point.
And given that he hasn't cast a 1-drop, he didn't have his Gorger or his Soulscar Mage, it's likely that he does have a lot of that stuff.
Here is On-Crop Crasher from Jobb. So this one, if you haven't gotten beaten up with it in Limited, it's a pretty good one. A 3-2 haste. You may exert it and if you do, target creature can't block this turn.
And Jobb did go for Exert there. He definitely believes that he's the beatdown here.
Yeah, puts Todd to 17. Yeah, he could have attacked, which would have offered a trade with the Virtuoso, a trade that Todd probably would have taken.
And I can't imagine that Jobb is terribly dissatisfied with that trade. The Virtuoso does represent more and more Thopters as the game progresses.
Chandra, +1.
Ooh.
Exiles the Hour of Devastation in Todd's deck. Jobb takes 2 more, but that's a 1 of in Todd's list, so no more fear of that card.
Jobb doesn't know it's a 1 of.
Yeah, and to be fair, it looks what happens when Jobb made that attack, he said he was racing, and Todd accepted the terms of the race. He didn't use Chandra to kill the Crasher.
Yeah, using your Planeswalker's -3 to kill an exerted creature, not great value.
You have well, especially not with a Magma Spray in your hand, which he has.
Right. But now with the Chandra on 5, things like Thought-Knot Seer, they're less impactful on the battlefield.
Ooh. Earthshaker Kenra, and with its trigger on, he's going to use Invigorated Rampage so that Todd's cards can't block. Then kills Chandra Torch of Defiance. That's a really neat one, the Rampage out of Jobb's sideboard. Oath of Nissa from Stevens finds him a copy of Lumbering Falls. Invigorated Rampage, the card we normally see out of Pummeler decks, can give +4/+0 and trample.
Yeah, and that made it so you can cleanly deal with that Chandra. Now something like Thought-Knot Seer would be much more powerful on following turns.
Todd will Magma Spray away the on-crop Crasher. Will he keep the race going? Halfway.
And Todd's going to want to be able to make some more energy here in relatively short order to get some more Thopters. Now that Chandra's off the battlefield, Todd doesn't have a lot going on.
Sun-Scorched Desert from Jobb. This one, a common from Amonkhet, actually. It just makes colorless and deals 1 damage when it comes into play. Jobb will make Glorybringer here, though. So he attacks. Todd's none of that. He'll use Harnessed Lightning to shoot down the dragon. And the Kenra is going to then trade with the Thopter. All right, 5 damage using Lumbering Falls from Todd, so Jobb down to 8.
It looks like Jobb has at least 1 more Glorybringer, not to mention that he's got a decent amount of Ramunat runes damage sticking around.
Yeah.
His life total's pretty low, though.
Yeah, you have to be careful about these Lumbering Falls. I guess Todd can only activate 1. But especially if Jobb's exerting his Glorybringer, that actually makes it worse at racing.
You really want to get this Virtuoso off the table, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of extra damage from Jobb, especially when he hits that. You mentioned the Ramunap Ruins. He has also, when he hits another land, he has the Kenra in his graveyard. So here's Glorybringer. Is he going to exert it to kill the Virtuoso? It almost feels like he has to.
It seems like his options are exert or try to block, right?
Yeah. That's what he's deciding between.
Depending on the follow-up. And it does look like he has more spells in his hand. That could be in the situation. I'm pretty tempted to exert.
Yeah, and he is as well. The dragon will shoot down Virtuoso. Todd takes 4, goes to 12.
And if all Todd does is fire up Lumbering Falls this turn, Jobb should be able to mount a reasonable battlefield. Todd 1 land away from potentially casting a Nicol Bolas. It does control that Oath of Nissa.
Attune with Aether from Todd Stevens. Finds Basic Mountain. Brings him up to 3 energy, but that Virtuoso is gone, so no way to convert it just yet.
And he'll really want to get that Glory Bringer off the battlefield in relatively short order here. At the very least, what it does is get in the way of the Lumbering Falls.
So here's the last card in Todd's hand. It's a copy of Nahiri the Harbinger. She will exile away Glorybringer. It is vulnerable now to Ramanap Ruins.
Land to eternalize the Kenra would be really good for Jobb here.
Three cards in hand for Jobb. Currently behind in the race, 12-8. Todd Stevens empty-handed, but has a Planeswalker and 2 creature lands. Or make that 1, actually. Just 1 copy of Lumbering Falls.
Got to figure that Jobb will be dealing with Nahiri this turn, though technically he does have some time. If he just wants to play some kind of creature, hang around, Nahiri, the next activation is just going to rummage. Stevens empty-handed. It's some value, but it's not a huge deal. If his only line is to Ramunap Ruins it down, he probably passes on that.
Yeah, his whole play of use Ruins Go certainly is not great. But leaving Todd the Nahiri isn't great either.
Right. If it's a non-haste creature, you probably want to go for that.
Yeah. Soulscar Mage and a go from Jobb.
Chance that Jobb is considering the possibility that Stevens produces another hour of devastation, considering whether or not he wants to commit more creatures to the battlefield. Unclear exactly what the contents of his hand is.
Hero Plus. Discard Servant to the Conduit. Todd draws something new. Looks like a land.
Yep. Certainly true that he could have done better than Servant. He, however, did not.
Big hits in Todd's deck. I wish I could say he was drawing to Nicol Bolas Godpharaoh. I actually would be surprised if it's still in the deck. But it would be excellent here.
Yeah.
Todd says go.
Yeah, with Jobb hanging out with 2 cards left over.
Yeah.
Would be pretty good.
Would be great. So enough mana to activate Lumbering Falls for Todd Stevens. We'll give Jobb some pause before attacking.
Yeah, Soulscar Mage isn't really interested in getting into that combat.
Yeah. Jobb picked up Magma Spray that turn. That doesn't help at all.
Kind of a funny thing with other prowess creatures, you can Magma Spray on your own creature and you grow it a little bit.
Soulscar Mage will attack Nahiri, so Falls will activate to block. Does he have another Invigorated Rampage? He does. So it's going to prowess it up to a 2/3 and then pump it to a 6/3. Does he have another one? That doesn't kill the Nahiri.
No, this will put it down to 1.
Yeah, and that's just what's going to happen. Yeah, Todd will just keep filtering through these cards, absolutely.
And at least 1 more land left over there. Yeah, still nothing going on for Stevens. Yeah. Looks like 2 lands.
2 more lands?
Jeez.
Oh, gosh. But there's no threat from Jobb's side. Now he does play land 6, so the Kenra can be eternalized, and that is what Jobb's going to do.
And that'll take care of the Nahiri. Stevens will be just drawing 1 card a turn to try to get out of this. That's bad news. Long Tusk Cub off the top. Ether Hub one of the lands, so he will be able to make this up to a 4/4, but that's just going to trade with the Kenra.
Yeah, it is an answer. You're right. We still have the issue with this magma spray in Jobb's hand is doing nothing, no favors for him.
Yeah.
And Kenra's going to swing. Todd going to go down to 8.
If you assume Jobb's hand is empty and he's had a lot of turns where he hasn't done very much, your Cub is lethal in 2 attacks.
Sure. Another land for Stevens. And now he's got to be concerned. He might be dead on the crackback. It wouldn't take much to make that the case.
Well, it's just 2 activations of Rammy Nap Runes. One more hit from the Kenra. That's lethal. I suppose you have to activate it at a sorcery speed, I do believe.
Actually, you do not. Ramming Up Ruins can be done instant. This one's instant.
Okay.
Yeah, Todd says go, and end step Johnathan sacrifices a Sunscorched Desert.
So this is just far and away the best one in the cycle, huh?
Yeah.
Why do you have to use the pump spell at sorcery speed?
Yeah, not this one. He's got the other one. He has Ramming Up Ruins. No Desert of the Fervent in his list. There we go. That's the one he's playing. Yeah, not even sorcery speed.
And I don't think that this card is too good, being able to activate at instant speed. It's just so strange that the worst ones are only sorcery speed.
Well, here is, how about Reality Smasher? Oh, my.
Speaking of sorcery speed, that is a really nice sorcery speed game action.
Yeah. And Todd will just extend the hand. And there you have it. Johnathan Jobb's mono-red aggro deck is going to win 2-0. He will win the match on table 1, lock his spot into day 2, and keep himself just at the top of the standings.
Yeah, this mono-red aggro deck, I really like a lot of what's happening here. You get to use your lands to facilitate kind of your early aggressive fan when you hit early with that plan. But the mid-range strategy also, some really nice heavy hitters in the deck. Reality Smasher there, closing the deck out, closing that game out. Being able to eternalize Earthshaker Kenra and just like filling out your curve in between on top of that, that's really nice. You know, some red decks in other formats, you think about getting a 6 mana, it's like some bad stuff happened in between. You did nothing for a while. But this deck is just casting 4 and 5 mana spells.
Yeah, some impressive one there by John Jobb. It so stays undefeated as he moves to 6-0. Now, we do actually have a backup match. We're going to go over to another player who, if you didn't get a chance to watch him at the Invitational,